Hi everyone, welcome to chapter 6 of Form 4, which is cell division. Now, before we dive any deeper into cell division, we must actually understand what exactly is this process all about. So, what is it all about then? The first thing that you have to ask yourself is, what is it for? Now, you are probably most aware that our body is made out of billions of cells. Catch is, some of those cells are definitely going to be damaged over time. For instance, if you run and you cut yourself, the cells on your skin would definitely be damaged. So, if our body cells are getting damaged, how exactly are we replacing these damaged cells? So, how our body is replacing these damaged cells is through a process called cell division. Cell division, in a nutshell, is how our new cells are technically made. Why are they going through cell division? Well, the first thing you gotta understand is that you can't just create a cell out of thin air. No, it has to come from an existing cell. Hence, let's say that this is a cell that's already in the body. This cell. To create a new cell, this cell would have to divide into two. So, this part over here will become this cell. This part over here will become this cell. So since the cell is being split, or more accurately, dividing into two sections, hence this process is called cell division. And since these two cells come from one main cell, this main cell is like a parent to these two new cells. So we call this cell the parent cell. And these two cells, daughter cells. The next part of this topic that we need to go through is the cell cycle. Now, what we need to know about the cell cycle is that it's more of a routine that the cell has to go through. So, what do I mean by routine? Well, for instance, we students, we have to wake up early to go to school. Then we come back from school, we have our lunch, then maybe we take a nap, then we do our homework, we have our dinner, we study, and then we go to bed. So that is our routine as a student. And the same thing also applies for cells. Cells also have their own routine. That routine is called the cell cycle. Now, what you need to know about the cell cycle is that you can look at it like a clock. For instance, here, the cell needs to be doing something. Here, the cell needs to be doing something else. Here, the cell is doing something else. Here, the cell is doing something else. So how you read it is that a cell starts from this location and it goes around the clock like this. This one full round is considered one cell cycle. So, what are the phases of the cell cycle that you need to understand? Now, this bigger chunk of the clock, or rather the bigger chunk of the cell cycle, this part is called interphase. This smaller section over here is called the M phase. So, what's special about these phases? As you can see, the interphase, this phase, is a lot bigger compared to M phase. So, that means the cell is spending more time in interphase than in M phase. Interphase is taking up the most of cell cycle. So, what exactly is interphase? Interphase is mainly split into three major parts. 1, 2, 3. So, what are these three major parts? The first major part is called G1. The second one is called S, and the third one is called G2. So these three are three totally different phases that are under interphase. So don't let the letters scare you. They actually carry some actual logical meaning. G1 stands for growth. And since there's a 1, it stands for growth 1. That logically means that G2 stands for growth 2. S, however, which is the second phase, stands for synthesis. So, in Form 4 level, you don't really need to know too in depth of what each of the phases do. So, you just need to know a key point from each of the phases. In G1, new organelles are synthesized. In the S phase, DNA replication occurs. You can also say DNA synthesis. Just take note that this process, DNA replication, since it occurs, it involves DNA, there's only really one place you can find DNA, which is in the cell's nucleus. Now, the next phase, G2, involves cells gathering energy So the cells are gathering energy here because the next phase is M phase, which is going to involve the cell using quite a bit of energy. So just know these few key points of each of the stages and you should be good to go for Form 4 level. Lastly, the last part that needs to be explained is the M phase. The M phase is also split into two parts. So this bigger part of M phase over here is called mitosis, which is the biggest part of this chapter. After mitosis occurs, the next part is called cytokinesis. We'll get to this later on once we finish up what mitosis is.